Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Jimmy Foosball here, bringing you the HFL 2024 Week 10 recap. I have way too much to go over this week, so let's get right into it. The push for the playoffs begins now. Every team still has a chance fighting for playoff hopes. One team has clinched already. We will get into that later. There are only 4 regular season games remaining on the schedule. Before going into week 10, we had 2 trades. First one between Fratty Jones and Intimidation. Fratty Jones getting Jonnu Smith. Intimidation getting Jerry Jeudy. The second trade, the big one. The manager receives the Denver defense, Jalen Warren, Marvin Harrison Jr., and Kyler Murray. And Cleary receives the Chargers defense and Darnell Mooney. The fantasy player of the week, no shit Sherlock, it's Jamar Chase. He gets a 25 kill streak this week, putting up 51.9 fantasy points with 11 receptions, 264 yards, 3 touchdowns. Our kicker of the week, the Miami Dolphins, Jason Sanders with 15.7 points. He was 3 for 3 on field goals, 2 for 2 for extra points. And our defense of the week, the Philadelphia Eagles with 20 points, 1 interception, 4 fumble recoveries, 3 sacks, only 6 points allowed. The Cowboys are ass. On the bye week, in week 10, we had the Browns, Packers, Raiders, and Seahawks. Our first matchup of week 10 is between Brees Company and Love Thy Neighbors, aka Kamish. Boston getting the win. He had a 19% chance of making the playoffs coming into the week. Top performers for Brees Company are Chuba Hubbard, Bucky Irving, and Jason Sanders, kicker of the week. Kirk Cousins, 306 and a pick for 11.24 points. Chuba Hubbard, 153 yards, a touchdown, and a fumble for 23.9 points. Jason Sanders, we went over the stat line already. And on the other side, our team of the week, Love Thy Neighbors. Joe Burrow, 428 yards, 4 total touchdowns, 35.72 points on Thursday. The stack was diabolical. Kyron Williams, 62 yards and a fumble, 8.7 points. J.K. Dobbins, 7 points on 50 yards. Jamar Chase, player of the week, we went over it already. Josh Downs, 7 receptions, 72 yards, 10.7 points. Trey McBride, 4 receptions, 71 yards, 9.1 points. Raheem Mostert, 4.4 points, 0 yards, but he had 2 catches or something like that. Taysom Hill, 2 receptions, 36 yards, 6 points. Detroit defense, 10 points on 2 picks, 23 points allowed. Cameron Dicker, 8.8 points, 2 for 2 field goals, 3 for 3 extra points. That is our team of the week, 152.32 total points. 87 of those points coming from the combination of Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase on Thursday night. Now, Mike with a 6-4 record, Boston with a 4-6 record. Second matchup of week 10 is between Hairline Avengers and Mr. Miami. This is our game of the week. An extremely close matchup. Mr. Miami edging out the W, 111.6 to 110.9. Mr. Miami is excited to play the quote playoff spoiler, although he has a 2% chance of making the playoffs coming into the week. So now with the win, the percentage should have gone up maybe just a little bit. We're getting some activity from him in the chats. It's the first time all year. He seems to be really embracing the spoiler role, even though he still has a chance. Top performers for Gabe include George Pickens, Austin Eckler, and Cortland Sutton. Caleb Williams with 120 yards, 6.3 points. Sutton with 6 receptions, 70 yards, and a touchdown for 16 points. Pickens with 5 receptions, 91 yards, and a touchdown for 18 points. Eckler with 44 yards, 2 touchdowns, 17.6 points. And on the other side for Joe, top performers, the Buffalo defense, Travis Kelce and Bo Nix. Bo Nix with 215 yards, 2 touchdowns, 16.1 points. Travis Kelce, 8 receptions, 64 yards, and a touchdown for 16.4. And the Buffalo defense with a touchdown, 3 interceptions, a fumble recovery, 20 points allowed against the Colts for 18 points. Joe now has a 3-7 record. Gabe with a 4-6 record. Third matchup of the week is between Sosa Jeff and Amana Boat. Zach coming into the matchup with 6 wins in a row, looking to get his 7th, which he does successfully. Zach had a 99% chance of making the playoffs coming into the week, and after this win, he is our first player to clinch a spot in the playoffs for the 2024 season. Top performers for him include Lamar Jackson, Puka Nacua, and Kaimi Fairbairn. Lamar Jackson with 290 yards, 4 touchdowns for 32.9 points. He's looking like the NFL MVP. Puka, 9 receptions, 98 yards, 14.3 points for him. And Fairbairn, 3 for 4 field goals, 2 for 2 extra points for 12.9 points. And on the other side, our duck of the week, Lombardi. Jaden Daniels, 202 yards, 8.58 points. James Cook, 80 yards and a touchdown for 15 points. Tank Bigsby gets hurt, 4 yards, 0.4 points. Amon-Ra St. Brown, 6 receptions, 60 yards and a touchdown for 15 points. Deontay Johnson hasn't done much as a Raven yet. 1 reception, 6 yards, 1.1 points. Mark Andrews, 6 receptions, 68 yards and a touchdown for 15.8 points. Brian Thomas Jr., 2 receptions, 12 yards, 2.2 points. Ricky Pearsall, 4 receptions, 73 yards and a touchdown for 15.3. Atlanta defense with a donut. And Caleb McLaughlin, 2 for 2, 2 for 2 for 7.6 points. After this matchup, Lombardi with a 6-4 record. Zach has a 9-1 record. Our fourth matchup of the week is between Intimidation Infinite XX and Bamford Legend. In this matchup, the Make 2 and 6 Great Again movement comes to a screeching halt after only 1 week as Fink gets the W, 134 to 106. Top performers for Frank are Calvin Ridley, Justin Herbert, and Chase Brown. Herbert with 164 yards, 2 total touchdowns for 19.76 points. Chase Brown, 42 yards, a touchdown and a fumble for 17.9. Calvin Ridley, 5 receptions, 84 yards, 2 touchdowns for 22.9 points. On the other side for Fink, his top performers include Brock Purdy, Philadelphia defense, and Joe Mixon. Brock Purdy, 353 yards, 2 touchdowns for 24.82 points. Joe Mixon, 46 yards and a touchdown for 16 points. And the Philadelphia defense with 20 points, our defense of the week. For week 10, with this loss, Frank moves to 3-7. Fink now with a 7-3 record. Fifth matchup of the week is between Fratty Jones and Just My. In this matchup, the Daddy's Home movement, which began last week, we didn't cover it, but it began last week. It gains more traction this week as JD gets the dub. Daddy wasn't there. What does the Daddy's Home movement actually mean? I don't know, but JD's been using that phrase a lot. Perhaps it has something to do with the return of Christian McCaffrey. And speaking of McCaffrey, JD's top performers include McCaffrey, Hurts, and Drake London. Jalen Hurts, 202 yards, 4 total touchdowns, and an interception for 29.68 points. Drake London, 8 receptions, 97 yards, 13.7 points. CMC, first week back, 39 yards, 13.7 points. And on the other side for Cleary, his top performers are Tyrone Tracy Jr., Scary Terry, and newly acquired Darnell Mooney. Sam Darnold in the quarterback position for him, 241 yards, 3 interceptions, 6.44 points. Tracy Jr., 103 yards, a touchdown and a fumble for 15.9 points. Scary Terry, 5 receptions, 113 yards, 14.8 points. And Darnell Mooney, 5 receptions, 96 yards for 12.1 points. JD now has a 4-6 record, Cleary with a 5-5 record. And our 6th and final matchup of the week is between Squidward Tortellini and the manager. Coming into this matchup, David had a 1% chance of making the playoffs, and luckily for him, he succeeds and gets the victory, 130.14 points to 101.3. Top performers for Tortellini are James Conner, Josh Allen, and the Minnesota defense. Josh Allen, 280 yards, a rushing touchdown, and 2 interceptions for 18.2 points. James Conner, 33 yards, a touchdown for 19.8 points. And the Minnesota defense, 2 interceptions, a fumble recovery, and only 7 points allowed for 15 fantasy points. On the other side for David, his top performers are Bijan Robinson, Kyler Murray, and Sam Porta. Kyler Murray, 266 yards, 3 total touchdowns, 28.74 points in his first week playing for the manager. Bijan Robinson, 116 yards, 2 touchdowns, 28.9 points for him. Sam Laporta, 3 receptions, 66 yards, and a touchdown for 14.1 points. JP now has a 6-4 record. David with a 3-7 record. Here we have our standings after week 10. As you can see, the X next to Sosa Jeff. He has clinched the first playoff spot with a 9-1 record. Then we have Bamford Legend 7-3, 3-6-4 teams, 5-5, 4-6, 3-7. Everyone still has a chance. And looking at our Week 11 preview, there are a lot of good matchups in Week 11, but the two we want to highlight are between four teams fighting for their playoff lives. Boston, aka Kamish, 4-6 versus Frank, Team Intimidation, 3-7. And we have David, the manager, also 3-7 versus JD, Fratty Jones, who is 4-6. Very important matchup for these four guys. We do have our parlay slip from last week. The Duck of the Week parlay did in fact begin earlier in the season. This week we will go over, very briefly, we'll go over what happened here. Here's the slip. Anytime touchdowns only for all of these players. The ones who hit, I honestly don't remember. I have a screenshot of the ones who hit thanks to Zach. It was only 4 of them. 4 out of 12 of them hit. It looks like we're never gonna be rich and we're never gonna make it out. Maybe one day, maybe this week, we'll see. Anyway, yeah, thank you for tuning into the Week 10 recap with me. Definitely keep a close eye. Watch next week's recap to see who is inching closer to the playoffs, who is falling further away. I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.